Hello and welcome to the Fire Chief's video message for August 2019. We're getting ready to open the fair this afternoon. It's August. We're dealing with the heat and humidity. We've had some significant incidences in the last month. Some of them have been weather related, some of them have just been unique. One of the things that I wanted to kick off this month with was talking and welcoming new folks to MCFRS. So at the table here with me is my friend Pete. So what do we have on tap for today?
Well, I'm certainly not new, but some people refer to these coming days, with the fair opening as the best 8 days of summer. So, of course, some of us refer to them as the dog days of summer too. We've been certainly challenged by the weather recently, and still a lot to come for the summer. So, certainly we're looking forward to that. But we've welcomed some new, mostly civilian employees, but of course we've a couple of recruit classes.
RC-45 graduated.
So a lot of new folks around, a lot of new faces, and of course the new recruits are out. Not recruits anymore; they're probationary members. They're out in the station. And you have too run across a few of them already.
Right. So as we talked about, RC-45 graduated back on July the 18th, and RC-46 is due to start in the first week of October. RC-47 is due to start, give or take, the first week of December. There's a good number of folks, about 90 that are in the process right now. A CPAT for RC-47, and there's another interview panel sets going on the last couple of days at headquarters. So plenty of planning work ongoing at the academy for that. As you just talked about, new folks. Over the last 4 or 5 months, we've gotten a bunch of new folks at both CMF as well as different components at headquarters. So at CMF, want to welcome Chris, Scott, and Gary, new technicians that have come on board. At CMF yesterday, they were doing interviews as well for the M3 position, or the fill in the slot that was sadly left with Tony Bizjak's sudden passing. So another ongoing improvement and change there. Talking about CMF, you were at the campus yesterday. I stopped in at the campus yesterday. There was 5 new Pierce engines sitting there. 2 more were supposed to show up yesterday or today. Hose is getting loaded on them. They're getting close. One more hurdle that came up this week that they got to process through, but the goal is to, within about a week or maybe the beginning of next week, send them back to the station. So crew comes up, picks up their new rig, takes it back to the station, has it there for 3 days, each shift for familiarity. Bring them both back up to CMF, do the last bit of equipment switches, and then put the Pierce in service and move on. So great appreciation to Captain Livingston, who's leading that project for Chief Friedman, and all of the folks that are helping Brett with that, and all the station folks, because everybody who's coming up is being involved in that process. So a lot of great work, a lot of good on the horizon with those 24/23 new rigs. But welcome to Chris, Scott, and Gary on the fleet side of the house.
And that's been a busy place. Not only the day-to-day work of maintaining and doing the preventive maintenance and so forth with our apparatus. You mentioned a new apparatus, new equipment coming in. So it's just a lot going on. A couple new people. So pretty exciting. A lot of things in motion there for sure.
And then we have been rolling into, and now our full MIH team is on board. So I want to say great shout out and thank you to Captain Jamie Baltrowski and Captain Ashley Robinson, as they took that interim short-term assignment. It turned a little longer than the original plans and forecast, but thanks to Ashley and Jamie for initiating and implementing, becoming those first groundbreaking folks that helped, along with Chief Bush and Chief Reed and Chief Demetriadis, get MIH up. And now we have all of our MIH folks on board. So Avital Graves has joined us. She's our VFD member for a long time. She's the manager in there. And Michael's now on board as the data analyst. Michael joined
Right.
us from libraries. So welcome them on board. The program is still growing because HHS is working to engage and secure their personnel. That's part of that team. But I want to welcome Avatar and Michael. Also in the EM and IHS area, our records custodian, Shanice, is on board. Debbie Messett retired a little while back, and Debbie's been with us for a long time being the records custodian. And Shanice is on board and took over the gap that Megan Harrell filled on the interim, and I really appreciate Megan for jumping in and taking that part-time assignment there to bridge that gap between Debbie's departure and Shanice's on board and being up to speed. So good filling all those seats in EM IHS.
Yeah, and we know it's really exciting. There's some things coming up with those folks in EMS, and having that. We know that the community health initiative is the wave of the future and trending, and going to be very important. And of course, that's been growing since Jamie and Ashley were in there. So look for good things to come from there for sure.
Yep. Also in fiscal management, our new accountant came on board with the EMST group. So Nadia has joined us a couple weeks back, and if you're up at headquarters, you may run into Nadia as well as some of the other folks. But they are in that EMST accounting and billing interactions. So a lot of their work and her work is behind the scenes with Bioden, as well as the folks in Dominic's shop. So welcome to Nadia.
And she's my neighbor at the headquarters there.
Yep. So
I see her often.
Like I said, a lot of new faces at headquarters. We also here pretty shortly are going to be welcoming some DTS friends up at headquarters. Chris Daniels, who's from DTS, the technology folks, the folks that are actually behind the scenes programming the duty operations chief log, the apparatus movement calendar, apparatus tracker, and some of that. Their IT team has reached out. We have a great relationship with them. They're going to be occupying some space up on the second floor for a period of time while their offices are renovated. So welcoming people at headquarters will see Chris and his team up there for a period of time. So
a lot of new faces. A lot of new faces.
Yep. So as we roll into summer, I use the word dog days. We definitely are into August. We've had some weather events. We talked about those unique floods on our last video. We had another pretty unique event on the C&O Canal area a couple days ago. Tell me about that one.
Talking about the stuck in the mud?
Stuck in the mud and the dogs and how
at least my observations, I get to go to all these things countywide, but certainly I was a little different. The Swiftwater Rescue Team and those down along the Potomac River have been very active this summer. A lot of activity down along the Billy Goat Trail and a few even water rescues on the river, and heat emergencies and so forth. But we had a unique, a little something different down in a relatively different area down by Lock 6, right, where we had a neighbor who was followed the dogs down to the river, throwing a stick, and he got stuck in the mud. And
stuck up to his knees.
Yeah. And it was one of those situations where it was off the beaten path. He wasn't in an area that was typical for pedestrian traffic or bike traffic. Followed the dogs down there, and he was stuck facing out towards Virginia. So his calls for, and by the way, he was 87 years old, and his calls for help were unheard until a cyclist came by and saw the dogs up on the trail. The dogs were agitated, running around. They had leash. They were covered with mud. So the cyclist very astutely, stopped and kind of investigated, and he heard the faint calls for help, right, and were able to, call 911 and go on from there. So they were able to get him out, and he was a little dehydrated. He'd been stuck for about an hour. Yeah,
and as Captain Russell, was gracious enough to work with some of the media outlets to talk about, they used some tools that the Swiftwater folks as well as the Tech Rescue folks have from experience, from some training events, purposely designed for mud extraction.
Right.
We get animals, horses more traditionally, that get into those types of situations where they get stuck or sucked into that quag and that mud.
Yeah.
And one of the better ways of freeing them from that is air intrusion.
Right.
Sticking a pipe, PVC pipe, down into that then you have connected to a SCBA cylinder, and then filtering and pushing air into the mud around their legs or their extremities opens up the compacted nature of that and allows the person traditionally or the animal traditionally to be able to then with assistance get that leg free. So those tools are on the boat supports and came in very critical that day.
Yeah, and that is just one example of some of the calls we've run. We've had we assisted Fairfax not too long ago with a rescue over at Scott's Run, which is, of course, is in Virginia. But we've also had a variety of calls along the C&O and the park. But Station 32 had the opportunity to deliver a baby on the ramp of
the
front ramp. We've had a number of heat-related calls, and a lot of bad car wrecks, and just a host of things going on. So it's been a busy summer, but I think I would think it was an unusually high number of water rescues, inland water rescues from the intense storms that we've had. We've talked about it last month, but we had a couple dozen rescues,
right.
But we had a few the other night when we've
Bradley
had some
again.
storms roll through here. So it's good to see that we have we're well resourced, quick to respond, and it's had positive outcomes.
Yep. So as we videotape this, it's the first day of the fair. You said the greatest 8 days of the summer. As my email the other day, because we just finished the National Night Out, which is the first Tuesday in August. That was earlier this week. The National Night Out is an example of community engagement. The fair is a great example of that. And as we get that opportunity to man the tent, to be at the engagement and the educational part of the tent, there's a lot of opportunity there to talk to people about our smoke detectors, about our CO, about the importance of, we usually have that hot car demonstration, car seats as well. That tent is a partnership tent with many other organizations about safety, so that's there. And everybody who's up at the fair, who's wearing the uniform, fire, police, is there engaging with the community and getting that opportunity to say hi, say thanks, listen for, provide a tidbit of information. So as you get a chance to get up to the fair for everybody, get involved in the tent, get involved in the opportunities to teach and experience, and have somebody walk away with a learned opportunity from that moment of contact.
And I would say those 8 days, that area at the county fairgrounds is probably one of the safest places you can be.
No doubt.
Because there's a lot of people behind the scenes, police and fire, and others that are there to make sure that
there's a lot goes on there, and
safe
it's a
and
very
secure.
dense area with a lot of folks involved. So,
and we should mention too, it's going to be one of the first opportunities to see our close the door van, and we're working with UL, who's our partner in safety, and we have the community risk reduction folks have been hard at work, but we have the van wrapped up, and I don't mean wrapped like that, but it's
1,000 degrees, 100 degrees.
Yep.
Clearly shows the difference between the heat that a room with a closed door, 100 degrees, versus a heat that a room without the closed door will impact 1,000 degrees, and how just the heat itself and the smoke circumstances, why we say close before you doze, and the importance thereof.
And I think they'll have something there that will be very clearly promote that opportunity, close before you doze.
Yep. Also, the end of August is our MDA Fill the Boot opportunity, and each year that event is paramount for our partners with muscular dystrophy and part of their fundraising activities. And I wanted to take an opportunity to share, as part of my video today, a video that Lieutenant Craig Evans from Fairfax City Fire Department produced, talking about his story. Real quick before we jump to that video, he contracted MDA while at work. Discovered it during performance evaluations. So everybody take a second, listen to this video, watch this video from Lieutenant Evans, Fairfax City, about his experiences and how he has firsthand as a fundraiser, firefighter, and now as a patient with, seeing the impacts and the value of MDA. So watch Craig's video.
I'm talking to you today because I found out that I have muscular dystrophy. It all happened about 2 years ago. I didn't know, but I was getting weaker every year on the job. And about 2 years ago, April 2016, right in this room right here, I was doing my work performance exam, and I couldn't finish it in time. I couldn't finish it hardly at all. It took me 16 minutes. We were supposed to do it in 10 minutes and 47 seconds. And I was never fast at it. I was like an 8 or 9 minute guy, but I did it every year, no problem. And I couldn't do it. And I finally finished it because we don't give up. And afterwards, I could barely stand. I was bradycardic. I was having trouble breathing. My O2 saturations were low. And I was just quivering. My muscles were done. And so I went on light duty. They sent me to the ER that day, and I was cleared. I had then I had a litany of doctors I had to see over in a row. One was a cardiologist because I had some arrhythmias that were happening, and the cardiologist cleared me for work, said you can go back to work. I went to see a pulmonologist, and he checked my lungs out. I did some more breathing tests, more detailed ones than what we do every year at our physical. He's like, your lungs work, you can go back to work, and all I got to do is pass this test. So I exercised relentlessly all the time. I threw the ladders and carried the hose and ran up and down these stairs over here, and I did this all the time, 2-3 times a week, and dragged our mannequin, and every single time it just seemed harder and harder. And I rested, and I followed every fitness regimen I knew about my entire life, I've ever learned about. Exercise, diet, everything, which I did normally. I was one of the guys who was known for doing a lot of exercise. I used to go up and down high rises, stair in my full gear just for PT, and none of it worked. It actually got worse. I came to do my work performance test several times after that. One time I couldn't even finish it. I couldn't raise the ladder, which was the first part. I carried it and I couldn't get it above my head, which was a big clue that something's wrong with my muscles. But we didn't know. So they sent me to an infectious disease doctor. Maybe he's got Lyme's disease. And I don't know if you've ever gone down that road, but everyone sort of has Lyme's disease, or the testing isn't exact. So they treated me for Lyme's disease for 3 or 6 months. And then afterwards, they're like, well, you don't have Lyme's disease. You can go back to work. Then a neurologist was on the list I needed to see. I was cleared to go back to work, but I couldn't pass the test. So I went to a neurologist in Reston, Virginia, and he did some tests, and he did a physical exam, and he looked at me and I said, what do you think? And he goes, I think you came to the right place. And I was like, whoa, okay. He said, but we need to do some more stuff. So that started in the spring of 2017, a series of tests that I ended up at Johns Hopkins and with a muscle biopsy or two, and it came back that I've got muscular dystrophy. I don't know which type yet, but it's definite for muscular dystrophy. So that's why I'm talking to you today. I just want you to know that you're raising money for more than, as noble a cause as MDA is, you're raising money for your brothers and sisters, because I never knew that I'd be on the other side of this. Not once. But let me tell you, the work you do in those 3 days, is far more impactful. You touch more lives in 3 days than you do the other 362 days a year. And I can tell you that honestly. because I've been on both sides of this, and MDA has saved me thousands of dollars so far. They do free genetic testing. The MDA clinic I go to at Johns Hopkins, I can see it on their faces. The lives that you touch every time I go into the waiting room and I see everybody sitting there, all their families. It is an amazing cause. And you're doing it for the families, for the kids, and you're doing it for each other. There's no more noble charity that I could think of that we could latch onto. And so just do your best. And from the bottom of my heart, as a patient now, I just want to thank you. What you do is amazing.
So Craig's video was very impactful. Gentleman was on the job, started having, unidentified issues why he wasn't succeeding in those performance evaluations. The neurologist came to the point of identifying, muscular dystrophy and how that impacts traditionally younger and children, but has in this case, as in other cases, impacted adults. So it's an example how the benefits of the MDA process and the MDA support impacts all, and what the firefighters' historical contribution to MDA is important.
Well, for decades, of course, the Muscular Dystrophy Association and muscular dystrophy is the number one cause, that the firefighters across the International Association of Firefighters, that's their main cause for raising money for muscular dystrophy, and they've raised millions of dollars. In fact, they are the largest single contributor to muscular dystrophy. So it's hugely important. The communities, and we have to give a shout out to our communities and our neighbors, and who have filled the boot over the years, and again, the millions of dollars, and we can see how much it benefit. And even in our lifetime, I think we've seen that research and even some of the benefits of that money has really paid dividends, and the kids that are affected are living longer.
So that fire chief's general order will be coming out in the next couple of days about the MDA period, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. One of the things I want everybody to remember is the importance of safety. Clearly, we have to be attentive as we talk about move over and traffic safety when we're on the scene of incidents. When the guys and gals and everybody's out there with the fill the boot activity, wearing the traffic vest, everybody having reflectivity on, everybody adhering to and being very cognitive of being on the sidewalk, being on the curb, not in the roadway when traffic is moving, being very careful to ensure that before that light cycles and switches back to green, that they are in a position of safety, because I don't want anybody to get hurt. We're doing, as we do in our profession, risk-benefit, risk-balancing situations. So everybody, please take heed of that bulletin, take heed of those components there. Make sure that we're being attentive to the radio and ensuring we're rapidly responding to the dispatches, having those safety parameters in place, and doing that in a balanced approach. So I wanted to thank Mike Berry as he's one of the lead coordinators this year for 1664 and the MDA process. So thank you, Mike, for asking and providing Craig's video, and for everything that is processed along there. So,
yeah, and you've said it right. It's we've been very successful. We've been doing it safe, and we've integrated a number of safety things. But just good common sense, and keep an eye out for everybody. Maybe have a spotter, have that reflectivity, reflective vest, and follow the normal traffic flow and traffic conditions.
Yep. So, as we prepare for the new engines, everybody's getting out there with their rookies doing rookie training. The new engines are getting there. Everybody's going to want to be, getting some sets and reps on pulling hand lines and operating off the new platform, so that we have that, you know, ingrained and under our belts. And that's exactly what we all should be doing, is, you know, training, executing the basics, and having those skills honed and ready to go. As an example, the MBT for the month of August was Metro, and being, you know, on spot with our Metro activities. And that's another opportunity to extremely high risk, relatively to extremely low frequency circumstance, but something that we all have to face, and the folks have to be ready for. So.
And of course, we've benefited hugely at the training academy to have a prop.
Yep. Chief Clemens worked a long time,
and
Chris Hinkle and Evan Stevens worked really hard to engage that and lay it out, and appreciate all the help in getting that together. But now it's here, and now they can practice, and that Metro in-service, which is occurring on Fridays, gets people that practical chance to do that. WASOT application, bulkhead door entries, all of those activities, while just being in Gaithersburg.
Yep, at the East Village, Shady Grove East Metro Station.
East Village Metro Yard?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to have a new name for that, huh?
Yep.
Okay. So as we wrap up the August video message, I wanted to say shout out to everybody as we engage at the fair, as we engage through National Night Out, and take care of being ready for the next call. So welcome to everybody to the MCFRS, our new folks at Fleet and EMIHS and Physical Management, all the folks from RC45 that are out in the field, all of the new members, men and women of the LFRDs that have joined us in the last several months. So till next month, take care, be safe.